Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Mini After Story. We are currently reading through Kazusa's chapter, and we are on chapter 4. So, through the last episodes, Kazusa and Haruki end up returning to Japan after 3 years away, talking to Touma a lot more through her sickness. She is sick with leukemia, so Kazusa's trying to get close to her while kind of avoiding the past. They're both made very nervous by the thought of meeting up with old friends because in their minds they really just abandoned everybody and fled Japan. Let's continue on with chapter 4. Japanese trains haven't changed a bit. Why is this thing so crowded? I don't think you've ridden enough trains anywhere else to be making that kind of comparison. You don't go out walking anywhere, you just take taxis. I've earned it. I don't have to put up with this nonsense from my manager. Can you imagine being rich enough to just take taxis everywhere you go? You don't have a bottomless supply of money for expenses. You and your mother both need to do something about your wasteful habits. Oh, we'll be fine. We have people like you and Mio-chan for that. As long as you two are around, Yoko Touma's office is secure. And so, carrying on conversations that had long since departed from any sort of point, we gazed out the train window at the scenery that we hadn't seen in years. It was a few days after we arrived in Japan, December 30th. In 2 days, the year would be over. We were in the midst of one of our holidays, which, as usual, had come up suddenly with no clear definition or ending point. Train announcement. Iwazucho. We have reached Iwazucho. If you are departing, please mind the doors. Man, how many times have we heard that name specifically playing our game? Here, this is our stop. Hurry up. I know that. Will you quit pulling on my necktie? You know that's dangerous. Dangerous, but kinda nice. Oh, listen to you, bringing up something from that long ago. But if you're saying that, that means you remember it too, right? Getting caught up in memories? Of course. This was the station I always used, starting when I was a kid. The place we had decided to visit today was, as the train announcer said, Iwazucho, the town where Kazusa had lived until she graduated high school. Imagining Kazusa growing up by herself in a place like that too, that must not bring up super great memories. Oh, that's right. What are we going to do about presents? We can't show up empty-handed. I appreciate that you're considerate enough to worry about that, but couldn't you have brought it up when we were in Onjuku? Around here, there's nothing but convenience stores. Haruki, you are underestimating convenience store sweets. Times have changed. Nowadays, you can get stuff on a level that's suitable for formal gifts. You're just the kind of person who buys stuff like that. I've got you figured out. And now. So this is a big, big thing in Japan. If you go to someone's house, anytime you go to someone's house, you're supposed to bring a present. Especially if it's someone you haven't seen for a while, or if you're coming from overseas. It's a very, very big thing. And if you show up without anything, it's kind of like, not great. It's pretty rude. I already knew, but seeing it before my eyes like this, I was still at a loss for words. Because we were looking at a house that had once been on the brink of ruin. No door plate, a for sale sign, the yard overgrown. It really is just like it used to be. Yeah. But now, this place was calling up even older memories. The day I looked up at it, astounded by its size. The day I entered it, boggled by its splendor. And the day I felt admiration, respect, and sympathy for the little girl living alone in that enormous mansion. Let's go. Yeah. That's so sad. I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess admiration and respect. Like, wow, you're growing up alone and you're not even like an adult yet. And at the same time, it's like, well, that's not something to respect. That's something to pity. That's so sad. Harboring all of these recollections, we walked up to the door of the house that had once been hers and rang the bell. Even the bell sounded just like it had so long ago. Oh, how lovely to see you two. It's been such a long time. We had dinner together yesterday and the day before. Come now, Kazusa, that was just diplomacy, a rite of passage, a formal engagement. The one who greeted us at the entrance was the current owner of the house. Really, she was the one who had owned the house this entire time. You really did come back. Well, in all these years, I wasn't able to sell it, so... Yoko-san had decided 6 months ago to start living in this house again. She had spent the entire time since then, up until the past month, reconstructing it, and today, finally, she introduced us to it. Normally, Kudo-san and I, who were supposed to oppose things like this, would call it a frivolous expense, and would never let something this self-indulgent slide. And it's funny because before now, when they were meeting for dinner, they kind of considered it business, even though realistically it wasn't really business. But now that they're going to her house, it's like, business aside, you're my daughter and son-in-law kind of thing. It doesn't seem like anything has changed. You're right. It didn't change. I didn't change a single thing. Although that actually meant it cost more money. Even the interior was perfectly restored. The number of times I had set foot in this house was limited to a few days. And yet, my childhood experiences in this house remained vividly in my heart, causing a great welling up of nostalgia in me, all at once. Actually, Mia-chan and I both live here, but for today, she decided to go back to her parents' home, saying that she didn't want to get in the way of the family. She didn't have to show that much restraint. It's true. For that girl, going home just means having her parents start hounding her to get married. Maybe you should show a little more restraint in what you say and do, you know? Well, but back then, there wasn't this sort of amusing mother and child rapport happening in this house. Yeah, there wasn't a mother and child anything happening in that house. The mother was gone. Well, no, it's not sweet at all. How strange. I poured so much sugar into it. Why not try adding some maple syrup just to see? Oh, now it looks like starch syrup. Well, I guess we'll leave this the way it is. No, when you're simmering the black beans, you should give them a bit more time over a low flame. If you boil them down that much, the husks will crack. Cut it out with the backseat driving. Honestly, men are always like this. They hardly ever do any of the cooking, but they're more than ready to complain. I do more cooking than you do. Why don't you let me help you? The newly restored kitchen was already on the verge of being overrun. That's so funny because usually I would say yes, they're justified, but in this specific case, Kazusa doesn't cook at all. She's super helpless. Yoko barely cooks because she and Kazusa are very much alike. So it really is Haruki doing most of the work. A suffocatingly sweet smell hung in the air, with a white steam drifting about that almost felt sticky. Well, that sounds disgusting. Ingredients and seasonings were scattered carelessly across the table, and it seemed unlikely that anyone would be able to get it all back in order. I won't let you interfere. New Year's cooking is something passed down from mother to daughter. But if the mother never inherited it in the first place, what exactly is she supposed to pass down to the daughter? I'm pretty sure the one who said in the first place that he wanted to eat New Year's food this year was you. You really are incomprehensible. I said I wanted to eat it, but I don't recall saying I wanted you to make it. because I knew very well that this was exactly how things would end up. So yeah, in Japan, beans, red beans and black beans, are both used in desserts, which takes some getting used to when you get here, but then you start really enjoying the flavor. It's a very traditional Japanese flavor to have beans that are cooked in sugar and made into sweets. Once it was time to clean up afterward, I knew that both of them would be sick of it. Anyway, go take a nap or something. I'll come wake you up when it's time for dinner. Fine. That's scary. I knew that sticking around and freaking out would just be bad for my nerves, so I decided to put off my despair for later and leave the living room. Oh, the candied chestnuts for the sweet potatoes have gone missing. Hey, Kazusa? I didn't eat the last of them. I left 2. I only popped 5 of them myself. I had thought that at least they would be able to finish what they were making, but it seemed I might need to revive my assessment of the situation. Eating all of the ingredients while you're cooking is not a great idea, and when you have a mother and a daughter that both do the same exact thing, it's not going to end up well. I descended the stairs into the basement and pushed open the door, which was several times bulkier than normal, and I saw everything precisely as I had seen it long ago. In one corner of the sprawling, meticulously soundproofed studio stood a piano by the same maker as Kazusa's own favorite piano. Guitars, drums, a saxophone. The space was packed with all kinds of instruments. The control room, partitioned off with a big soundproofed glass window, seemed to have all new equipment, though I don't know whether any of it was actually used. You gotta wonder, I wonder because Yoko Touma became the internationally renowned pianist, does she still use her other instruments? And how much piano does she still end up playing, you know? With this absolute fastidious adherence to the way things were before, I couldn't keep a bewildered smile from coming to my face. Several years before, when I was still a student, in this house, in this room, there was only one bitter, lonely girl. That girl seemed to have no interest in others, but it should be a certain someone. A certain someone who was absolutely terrible at playing instruments was the only exception. She took this layabout who wasn't serious about music, brought him to this room and played, and made him play, and hurled abuse at him. She was so cruel, but he needed it because it was a ridiculous task for him to play in that concert to begin with. And until he could put on a fully fledged performance, she drilled him under her constant supervision. So I, being said layabout, relied on that girl, grew dependent on her, shadowed her around. And more so because you developed a big crush on her. I came to this room so many times, played so many times, dozed off so many times, met the morning so many times. And it took 5 years, but I at last realized my dream. That is, my dream of getting close to this bitter girl, a dream with a very high hurdle. All right, and since this chapter is longer than the others, we're going to stop there for today. Thank you so much for being here with me on this chapter of Kazusa's mini after story, and I'll be back to you with part 2 of this chapter shortly. So until then, I hope you take care. See you.